Hi everyone, just wanted to go over real quick how we set up an area in the garden for planting throughout the season. This is middle of August here, so we're just doing a quick succession planting, a few plugs of lettuce and some collard greens, and I'm just using a hula hoe or a stirrup hoe here to kind of break up the area before I plant. And just real briefly, the way we set up our garden at the beginning of the year is we actually have a two-wheel walk-behind tractor, a BCS, which is has an actual PTO on the back, so you can run multiple implements, tillage implements or cutting implements, whatever it is you need. We use the 30-inch tiller on this. This is the BCS 852 diesel model. I realize this may be overkill for a lot of people. We were professional farmers. We did grow for market for 13 years, so that's why we have this machine. Now you can use just a straight up rototiller, which you can rent. You can get smaller ones as well. I know they have some that now that you can buy that you actually can hook up a little drill to it and it will power it. But initially, obviously, if you have something in a larger area, our garden area is roughly about 90 feet by 25 feet. You're going to want some type of equipment to help break up the soil, whether that's a broad fork or a tiller. So I want to go over that real quickly with you and how we actually set this up at the beginning of the year. Now, what I'm doing here is after I've kind of broken up this area a little bit, and the reason that I'm using the hula hoe or the stirrup hoe here to do that is throughout the year there's going to be areas where you've been walking or whatnot, and there may be soil compaction, that kind of things. You're going to want to break it up. So first thing I do is I like to use some composted manure. We like either a cow or steer manure. They're a great all-purpose fertilizer. A little bit lower in nitrogen, so you're not going to risk burning any plants or anything like that. As long as you're following the instructions on the bag, which they're pretty conservative. They're usually going to tell you how much product to spread per square foot, so you can kind of use that as a rule of thumb. This has a good balance of nutrition, good water retention, kind of all the good things you want for good plant health as you're planting into these beds. Once I've spread that by hand and just kind of get a feel for it, kind of look at what the package says. Next thing I like to use is a composted chicken manure crumble, and I like chicken manure. It's nice. The crumble is nice because it's a slower release of nutrients. So as it goes throughout the weeks, as you're watering or as it's raining, it's going to slowly release more of those nutrients. So rather than just everything kind of being available at one time, it's really nice to kind of prolong the effect. It's also higher in nitrogen than the cow or steer manure, so we like it for that. Great for organic matter. A little higher in NPK in general, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And it also, importantly, it has calcium, which is something that a lot of your plants are going to need. And then finally, what we do after I've spread the compost is I use this two-wheel Dibbler, and this is through a company called Bad Cats, and they make a couple different varieties of these. Now, we purchased this through Johnny's seed catalog. Now, obviously, you don't need a Dibbler like this in order to mark out your beds. This is just the system that we use. But when we first started, I did something as simple as take a couple of 1x3 furring strips and kind of fashion my own little handheld Dibbler, just something to mark a little spot in the soil for where you're going to be planting your starts. So that could be the end of a long garden tool like a hoe or a rake or a shovel. And you can use something like string to set your lines. You can find 100-foot tape measures that have the wind drum on them, so they're easy to to retract and to set up your bed. So there are other options that you can use. Obviously, if you're in a small enough area, like you're doing raised beds or that kind of thing, you can also just kind of eyeball things. Right here, I'm just planting some collard starts and getting those into the ground. And once those are planted and once the lettuce is planted, we'll water everything in, and then I'll go back later and we'll cover those collards for the fall. So anyway, just again, real quick, wanted to go over how we set up an area for planting kind of mid-season or as the season's going along. Hope everyone enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon.